Good morning, Year 6, and welcome to another maths lesson. We're going to continue with our topic of area and perimeter, but we're going to move away from rectangles and start by finding the area of triangles. This is new learning for most of you, so please make sure you're watching the video and you're paying attention to all of my tips and steps to success. I'm just going to share my screen with you, and as always, I'd like you to start off by doing your morning arithmetic. Please pause the video and answer these 6 questions on a piece of paper ready to upload for your teacher to have a look at. Okay, I'm going to start going through all the answers now. Please can you make sure you're marking your work carefully and also honestly. If you've done this work on a computer, it's time to remember it's much easier to do maths work on a piece of paper and the teachers need to see all of your calculations. So can you stop working on a computer, go and find a piece of paper and do your work there. If you don't have any paper, remember you can go and pick up a school book from school which will have squared paper, which is even better for maths work. But math work should be completed on paper, not on the computer. Here are your answers then for the arithmetic questions. For question 6, either 8/8 or 1 would be accepted. Both answers are correct. Okay, here are your reasoning questions, and you're going to have to remember your rules of BIDMAS in order to solve them. Don't just randomly guess, oh yes, that looks bigger. Before you can say whether it will be greater than, less than, or equal to, you'll have to, of course, solve each side of the equation. So please pause the video now and have a go at answering those questions. In terms of writing it out on your paper, I would recommend writing out the whole calculation with the inequality sign in the middle. Okay, I'm going to go through the answers to these ones, so please make sure you've written them out on a piece of paper, not the computer, with your answers. So here are your calculations that you should have done, remembering always to do the brackets first. So 10 plus 5 is 15, take away 9 is 6, for example. Those are the answers to the reasoning questions. Okay, we're going to move on now. Please can you write your date and WALT on a piece of paper? The WALT is to find the area of triangles. Your do now for today is to find the perimeter, and remember that's the measurement around the outside of a shape. The first one is a rectangle, and we learnt how to find the perimeter, the outside measurement of a rectangle yesterday. The second one, you'll notice, is a different shape. I'm going to let you have a go at it before I give you any clues because I want you to see if you can do it independently. Pause the video, write the date, WALT, and have a go at those 2 do now questions. Right, I'm going to start going through the answers to the do now questions. Please make sure you've completed them before I go through the answers. For question 1, remembering we're finding the perimeter of a rectangle, we know that opposite sides are equal. So we could do 10, add 4, add 10, add 4, or we could use our quicker method. 10 add 4 is equal to 14, and 14 doubled or times by 2 is 28. Much quicker, 28 centimetres. Well done if you said 28 centimetres. If you got the answer of 40 centimetres, you did 10 times 4, and that's finding the area. Please make sure you're always being careful about what the area versus the perimeter actually means. For this shape then, you can see a 5-sided pentagon where each of the sides has been marked with one of these lines, showing each side is equal. That means we're finding the total of 5 6-centimetre sides. 6 centimetres times by 5 then is equal to 30 centimetres. 6, add 6, add 6, add 6, add 6. Well done if you got 30 centimetres for that question. And remember, perimeter is measured in centimetres, not centimetres squared, because it's just a line around the outside rather than all of the inside. Okay, right, we're going to move on now to find the area of a triangle. First of all, though, just remind yourself, how do you find the area of a rectangle? Quickly do this one mentally. You don't need to write it down, but what would the area of this rectangle be? How do we find that measurement? Well done. To find the area of a rectangle, you need to do the length, which is 15, times the height, which is 4. 15 times by 4. Okay, if you can't do that in your head, break it down for a second and think, right, what's 15 times 2? Well, that's 30, and 30 times 2 is 60. 60 centimetres. You could also have done that by quickly scribbling out your, well, not scribbling, it's the wrong word to use, but quickly writing out your short mental method. So to find the area of a rectangle, you're multiplying the width or the base times the length or the height. Okay, these words are interchangeable in terms of the base, the width, the height, the length, but you're doing the bottom times the top, or along the bottom times the top. Okay, so if I know how to find the area of this rectangle, how might I go about finding the area of just this triangle? Have a little think for a moment, and I'm going to tell you the answer in a second. Well done if you thought that I could do the base or the bottom, 15 times by 4, which gives me 60 centimetres squared. Sorry, I forgot to say squared on the previous answer. I apologise, it's squared. The total is 60 centimetres squared, but I only want half of it. Therefore, I just need to divide by 2. 60 centimetres squared divided by 30 centimetres squared. And that's exactly how you find the area of a triangle. Any triangle that you're dealing with, you use this formula, which is written at the top in yellow. The area of the triangle is equal to the base, so that's along the bottom, multiplied by the perpendicular height. Remember, perpendicular as a word means at a right angle. The reason this is important is we'll actually see that later on in some other triangles, but it's not, for example, the base, which is this measurement, multiplied by this measurement. These two sides are not perpendicular. That's an acute angle, not a right angle, and so it's not that measurement. It's the base at the bottom multiplied by the perpendicular height, because remember, you're looking at a right angle and then dividing it by 2. And if you don't have a right angle here, then you wouldn't be finding the area of the rectangle. So 2 steps then, nice and simple. Do the base times the height, so that's 4 times 10 is 40. That would be the area of the entire rectangle, but I don't want the entire rectangle, so I divide it by 2. 40 divided by 2 is equal to 20 centimetres squared. Base times height, divide by 2. Very, very simple formula, which we just need to follow in 2 steps. Okay, let's look at this one then. The area is the base, 6, times the perpendicular height, 9, divided by 2. This is how we'd fill it out using our formula. 6 times 9 divided by 2. Now I'll do my steps. Using the brackets first, what is 6 times 9? That's step 1, base times height. 6 times 9, that's 54. And then I'm going to divide that by 2, 54 divided by 2. Either use the bus stop method here if you're not confident with your halving, or you can break it down. Half of 50 is 25 and half of 4 is 2. Add them together and you've got 27 centimetres squared. Let's check over here. 2s into 5 is 2, regroup 1, 2s into 14 is 7. 27 centimetres squared. So it's over to you. This is your first practice question. You need to follow the 2 steps. First, the base times the height, then divide it by 2. Can you find the area of this triangle in centimetres squared? Pause the video now and have a go at solving this question. Okay, I'm going to go through the answer. Please make sure you've tried it by yourself first, because this is the very first question where you can have a go and find out how confident you are. Please always make sure you're having a go at these questions on your paper and writing them down. So that would be base 16 times height 3. 16 times 3. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 1 is 3, add 1 is 4. So that's step 1. I've done the base times the height. Now I need to divide that by 2. Both of those numbers are even numbers, so I can do that mentally in my head. It will be 24. 24 centimetres squared. Okay, now it's time to have a look at this one. Base times height, and in fact I'm going to change it ever so slightly for this first question. You're going to do the base times the height and then divide that by 2. I'm going to ask you to pause the video here and have a go at this question. The base times the height, then divide it by 2. Off you go. Right, so you need to have a go at this one first, and remember I always want to see both steps of your working out. Even though I can do 5 times 8 in my head, I'd write it down. 5 times 8 is equal to 40. 40 divided by 2 is equal to 20. My answer here would be 20 centimetres squared. Now, at this point, I would like to point out that there is another way that you can do this. If I divide by 2 at the end, that's the same as dividing one of these 2 numbers at the beginning. So if I did 4 times 2, 4 times 2 is equal to 8, and 8 divided by 2 is equal to 4. Another way that I could do that, and this is only for those of you who are feeling very, very confident, divide one of the numbers by 2 first. If I just divide an even number by 2, and then I'm doing 2 times 2, which is equal to 4, I will still get the same answer. The only reason I'm showing you the longer method is because if you've got an odd number, for example, 7 times 3, if I divide 7 by 2, I get 3.5, and it's a little bit harder to do 3 multiplied by 3.5. So the main method would be to do the 2 steps as shown before. 3 multiplied by 7 is equal to 21. and then I'd use my bus stop to do this division, because I know it's going to be a decimal answer. 2's into 2 is 1, 2's into 0, it does not go, regroup 1, 2's into 10 is 5, 10.5. Okay, I'm going to actually ask you to do a third question now, and this third question will have a decimal answer. So make sure you're using the method where you're using the bus stop method in order to get your decimal answer. The base in this one is 9 and the height is 5. Please can you find the answer to this question using my two-step method? Base times height, divide by 2. Pause the video and have a go at that question. Okay, so base times height would be 9 times 5 would be 45. I'm now doing 45 divided by 2. I know I'm going to have a decimal answer because 5 is an odd number. 2 goes into 4 twice, 2 goes into 5 twice, regrouping 1, and 2 goes into 10 5 times, 22.5 centimetres squared. You could have also done partitioning there. Half of 40 is 20 and half of 5 is 2.5 if you like mental methods. Right. The thing is, though, and it's going to get a tiny bit harder now, sometimes our triangles might not be the most obvious way. And so the difficult thing will be to identify which one is the base and the perpendicular height. Basically, where can you see a right angle? So in order to do this, what you need to do first is identify where there is a right angle. This angle here, I can clearly see is not a right angle. This is not a right angle, but this is. Here is my right angle, therefore my base and my perpendicular height are this line and this line here. Let's have a look at the second triangle then. Where is the right angle? Put your finger on the right angle. Well done if you said here. That means we're looking at the base and the perpendicular height. Let's have a look at this next question. A bit harder, but put your finger on the right angle. Which angle here do you think is the right angle? Well done if you said this one here. If you need to check, you can use a corner of a piece of paper because paper is always cut at a right angle. So here's our right angle. That means that's the base and that's the perpendicular height. Let's have a look at this one then. Put your finger on the right angle. Well done if you said here. Now put your finger on the base here and the perpendicular height here. Okay, finally moving on to this last question then. For this one, you can see that there are no right angles in the triangle. So for this question, what you would probably be given is this measurement along here, 10 centimetres, and an extra measurement there where you can see there is a right angle. So if you can see a line down the middle, that means you've definitely given your perpendicular height, use that measurement. Let's have a look at what that looks like in a question then. It's not that much trickier, you just need to make sure you're only looking at the right angle measurement. So I've got 3 measurements here. I've got this one, I've got this one, and I have this. Which measurement is a perpendicular line from the base? Is it the 11 centimetre line or the 6 centimetre line? Well done if you think it is the 6 centimetre line. This is my perpendicular height. So that's the number one trap that you might fall into. This piece of information has been put here to trap us, and we're not going to fall in that trap. The base times the perpendicular height. It must have a right angle. So I'll do 12 times 6, which is equal to 72, and then I'm going to do 72 divided by 2. However you'd use that method, however you solve that, whether with the bus stop or with a mental method, make sure you're being accurate. I'm going to use a mental method. Half of 70 is 35 and half of 2 is 1, so my answer will be 36. Don't forget your unit of measurement, centimetres squared, because this is area. Okay, let's have a look at this one. Which 2 measurements do you think I'll be using? Where can you see the right angle? Say it out loud. Which 2 measurements will you be using for your base times perpendicular height? Well done if you are going to use 20 and 12. 14 has been put there to trap us, as has 10. So my first step is 12 times 20. What's the best method to solve 12 times 20? Well done if you spotted that we could solve this using a known fact. I know 12 times 2 is 24. 20 is 10 times bigger, so 24 must be 10 times bigger. So 12 times 20 is 240. Now I need to do 240 divided by 2. And again, because all of these digits are even, I can quickly do that mentally. 120 centimetres squared. Right. So basically, just be careful. Make sure you're using the perpendicular height. OK, we're going to move on to some questions now where we're given the area and we need to find one of the lengths. In order to do this, we need to work backwards. Please make sure you're paying attention to the steps, because when I did this last year with a Year 6 class, they forgot step number 1. Let me show you what you need to do then. When you're finding the area of a triangle, remember it's the area of a rectangle. So what you do is you do the base times the height, and that gives you the area of the rectangle. And then because you only want the triangle, you divide by 2. Okay, well, when you're working backwards, it's the opposite. I have the area of a triangle, but I want to find the area of a rectangle because that will be easier for me. So step 1 is, instead of step 2 being divide by 2, I do the opposite, the area multiplied by 2. So I'm going to do step 1 here, 12 times by 2 is 24. I now know the area of this rectangle, which will help me, is 24. So I'm simply finding out 6 times what makes 24. I'll just do a division here. 24 divided by 6 is equal to 4. This part here is 4 centimetres. So find the missing part to the multiplication, which was base times height is the area of the rectangle. I'll go through that again. Step 1 is to multiply the area to find the rectangle. 12 times 2 is 24. Now that I know the area of this rectangle that doesn't exist, I can quickly work out 6 times what makes 24. 6 times 4. So my missing measurement is 4. Those are your 2 steps. Okay, have a go at this one then. Step 1, multiply the area by 2. You can do that in your head. And step 2, what was missing? So then you find the area of the rectangle. What was missing here? Let's do it together then. Step 1, 16 times 2. 16 times 2 is 32. The area of the rectangle will be 32. So 8 times what makes 32? 8 times. Well done if you said 4. This measurement here is 4 centimetres. So it's pretty simple. Just make sure you start by multiplying the area by 2. Otherwise, you'll be getting your measurements too big. It's time for you to have a go at this one then. This will actually be question 4 on your piece of paper because I added another question earlier. So step 1, multiply the area. Step 2, find the missing part of the multiplication. Please pause the video now and have a go at solving this question. Okay, I'm going to go through the answers now. Make sure you've tried this. The steps are written there, so it should be easy enough for you to have a go at. Step 1, 24 times 2. 24 times 2 is 48. Okay, step 2, what times 6 makes 48? I found the area of the whole rectangle. Now I can just work out what do I times 6 by to make 48. Well done if you said 8 centimetres. If your answer here was 4 centimetres, what you forgot to do is multiply this by 2. Remember, the area of a rectangle is length by base. The area of a triangle is length by base divided by 2. So you've got to times by 2 first. Okay, have a go at this one then. If you got the last one correct, well done. This will be your final practice. And if you got the last one incorrect, make sure you remember to multiply by 2 first. Pause the video and try question 5. So step 1 should be 35 times by 2. 35 times 2 is 70. So 7 times what makes 70? Well done if you said 10 centimetres. If you said your answer was 5 centimetres, remember you forgot to times this by 2. So don't forget to multiply the area by 2 when working backwards. Right, this is your independent work then. You can see it's been split up into 1, A, B, C, D, E and F. There are other questions as well, so please make sure you continue watching the video. This is your first group of questions. For these questions, you just need to follow the simple formula to find the area, but don't forget your unit of measurement should be centimetres squared. Pause the video to answer these 6 questions and then play it again to answer the next set of questions. Okay, so you should have answered all 6 of those questions and we're ready to move on to the next step. Just double check you've put your unit of measurement in for all of the questions are centimetres squared. Also, double check and make sure you did the base times the height and then divided by 2. Don't forget to divide by 2. For this next group of questions, it's the same thing. This is question 2A, B, C and D, but it's a little bit trickier for you to determine whether or not you're dealing with where the perpendicular height is. This one, for some reason, I've forgotten to put on your unit of measurement, so let's say it's millimetres. All of these will be millimetres. Please pause the video and have a go at these 4 questions. There's more questions after this, so make sure you keep on watching. Okay, and for this final 3 group of questions, you're working backwards. I've actually given you your steps to success up here so that you can definitely make sure you are working using those steps in order to find the missing angles. Don't forget step 1 is to double it to find the area of what it would be as a rectangle first. Please pause the video and have a go at these 3 slightly harder questions. Once you've done these 3 questions, check all of your work has the correct unit of measurement, remember the squared, and then we're going to go through the answers. Well done if you've managed to answer all 3 of those questions. Let's start going through the answers now. So for all of these ones, you are doing the base 6 times the height 8. That would give us 48, and then dividing it by 2, 24 centimeters squared. So the base times the height divided by 2. Here are all of your answers. Please mark all 6 of these questions. Let's look at the next group of questions now. This one was a little bit trickier because you had a decimal answer, but we know how to divide by 2 and get a decimal, so that's absolutely fine. In this one, it was the base times this perpendicular height. Here, the base and this height, this one and this one, this one and this one. Okay, here are the working backwards questions, and I've got all of the steps that you would have needed, but remember, you're looking for a length. Here, because it's a length, it's not squared. We don't call the length or the height centimeters squared, it's just 8 centimeters, 10 centimeters and 4 centimeters. So double check your unit of measurement is correct for those ones. Well done to everyone who was following that lesson carefully and sensibly and has been successful finding the area of triangles. Don't forget to make sure you upload all of your work onto Seesaw, including your morning arithmetic and your morning reasoning, and I shall see you tomorrow where we'll be finding the area of a parallelogram.